It's finally happening. Kelee Ringo is getting his shot as a starting cornerback for the Philadelphia Eagles this Sunday, and I'm going to tell you why Ringo panning out is so crucial for the rest of the season.
You are Locked On Eagles, your daily Philadelphia Eagles podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
We thank you so much for making Locked On Eagles your first listen each and every day. Welcome in, Eagles fans, to this Friday edition of the show. I'm your host, Louis DiBiase, getting you ready one final time for Eagles-Buccaneers this Sunday at 1 o'clock. The Eagles wearing green in Tampa Bay. It feels like every single year, every single September, they have this kind of battle with Tampa. And this is a big one because both teams are 3-0, trying to stay undefeated atop the NFC. If the Philadelphia Eagles are going to stop Baker Mayfield, Emeka Egbuka, apparently Chris Godwin probably going to play in this game. If they're going to do it, they're going to need Kelee Ringo to step up. That's right, Adoree Jackson listed as doubtful for this game on the official Friday injury report. We know earlier this week Jacorian Bennett was placed on injured reserve. Kelee Ringo's last stand is here, the thing I've been begging for weeks. Finally is here. Ringo is going to get his shot. Kelee Ringo, in my opinion, can complete the 2025 defense. Ringo panning out this Sunday against Tampa Bay, it's not just crucial to get that very important win against what I think is a top, you could argue top 3 team in the conference. I would say top 4. It's the Eagles, it's the Rams, and then I think right below those two, it's the Packers and the Buccaneers. And you can debate between the 3 teams below the Eagles, who's 2, who's 3, who's 4, but I think it's obvious those are the top 4 teams in the NFC. Ringo panning out against 2 really good receivers and a really good quarterback is crucial. But Ringo panning out is so instrumental to the long term because when you look at the 2025 defense compared to the Eagles' Super Bowl winning number 1 ranked defense of last season, the one main difference is there is just one key liability on this year's unit that wasn't there last year. Now, Darius Slay of 2024 wasn't the Darius Slay of 2021 or 2022, an all-pro, Pro Bowl player, but he was an above-average, good, not great, but really good starter for the Eagles defense. This year, that third cornerback spot, you've been winning in spite of that position all year. And that doesn't mean it's been holding back the Eagles defense from being a top 5 unit. They are still a top 5 defense in 2025. Statistically, when you put on the film, if you're an eye test person, if you're a numbers person, the fact of the matter is the Eagles defense is still elite in 2025 from top to bottom, still one of the most complete, young, explosive, versatile units in the league. But that third CB spot has been the elephant in the room. We keep asking ourselves, like, when's that shoe going to drop? Yeah, the Eagles are 3-0 right now, and they are winning in spite of Adoree Jackson, in spite of Jacorian Bennett. But when is it going to kill this football team in a really big spot? Like, is this going to happen later on in the year with the division on the line, with the 1 seed on the line? Could it happen in the playoffs with a championship on the line? It just feels like that dam eventually will break. And you can make the argument, it kind of already did. There was already a huge moment this year where that spot kind of almost cost you a win. It should have. Against the Rams last week, Matt Stafford targeted Puka Nacua, 3 to 4 times in a row on that final, what was supposed to be a game-winning drive that put the Rams in field goal position to hit the walk-off winning field goal. And without Jordan Davis blocking that field goal, they would have lost because of that third cornerback spot because they kept targeting Puka Nacua going up against Jacorian Bennett one-on-one. And there was just nothing the Eagles could do about it. Like, sure, you can maybe move Cooper DeJean on Nacua, but there's also Devontae Adams, and the Rams just could have simply kept pushing that receiver to Bennett's side or wherever that third corner was. The Rams are going to attack him. Matt Stafford is a veteran star quarterback. Sean McVay is a veteran star play caller at the head coaching position. So it hasn't cost him a loss yet, but it kind of did in a way. Like, the Eagles had to pull off a miracle, back-to-back blocked field goals to get that win. So to avoid that kind of fate happening again, to avoid them actually losing this time around because of that position, they need Ringo to be the guy that Howie Roseman, and I believe he can be, Like, Vic Fangio still is clearly not sold on this kid. Like, he played Adoree Jackson for 2.5 weeks, and then anytime Jackson was off the field, whether it was because of performance rotation or because of injury, he got banged up last week with that groin injury. That's why he's likely going to miss this game against Tampa. It wasn't Ringo that came in. It was Jacorian Bennett. So Ringo was in the doghouse just like he was last year in Vic Fangio's defense. But his ceiling is still so clear and obviously higher than a 30-plus-year-old Adoree Jackson that's not been a good football player this year. And Jacorian Bennett, it's only been a couple weeks and he's in a new defense, but I have not been impressed by his effort, by his tackling, by his ability to get off blocks, his man and zone coverage. Like, I don't see it with Bennett, at least so far. I know he was kind of last year an advanced analytics darling, but I don't see it. I stand firm in my belief that if the Eagles want to get back to last year's defense that just had no flaws, and again, they're a top 5 defense this year, but if they want to be like a perfect unit like they were again from last year to this year, they need Ringo to be that guy. Like, he can be the difference to fully complete this 2025 defense, inevitably when, of course, Nolan Smith is back, because right now he's on IR. So this is a massive, massive opportunity for Ringo to help the Eagles get a big win on Sunday against a big-time powerhouse in the NFC, to help complete this defense for the entirety of the 2025 season. But it's also just his last chance, I think, to be like the long-term answer in Philly, to convince Vic Fangio that he's the guy. Because Fangio, it doesn't matter how much Howie Roseman or I or even Nick Sirianni or whoever believes, Christian Parker, whoever believes in Ringo, if Fangio doesn't trust him, he's not going to start. And so if he goes out there against Tampa Bay and he really struggles against Egbuka and Godwin, and maybe even like the Buccaneers' third-string wide receiver, he's done at that point. And I'm not saying they're going to go back to Adoree Jackson or Jacorian Bennett, but I can guarantee you right now, if Ringo does not have a good performance against Tampa Bay, I think by next Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday at the latest, the Eagles will have another cornerback on this roster. And I'm not just talking about, Eli Ricks getting activated from the practice squad. Like, no, they're going to go out there and I don't know if it's a free agent signing of like a Stephon Gilmore, or if they're going to make a trade. They're going to target a losing football team. Like, I've said the name 1,000 times on the podcast, but do they go after Greg Newsome with the Cleveland Browns, or go after, one of these winless teams is secondary, right? I could see that. If Ringo does not pan out, Howie's hand is forced. Like, now he has to do something, because then we've seen all 3 corners opposite Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean become liabilities this year. So I'm going to be watching that spot heavily with intent this Sunday, because it's important for this game, because teams are going to always pick on that spot, but it's important for the long term of the season, because Ringo's their last hope. Bennett's not the guy, in my opinion. Jackson is who he is. He's not going to get better, although he's been better as the weeks have gone on. He is who he is. He's not going to become a strength, a plus of your defense. Ringo, not only can he just be someone you win with, but I do think there are times, he's going to give up plays, I think, from time to time, but he'll make the splash plays that I just don't think Bennett and Jackson are capable of making. I think there's a higher variance with Kelee in his style. He might give up big plays, but so do the other ones. At least this guy has the opportunity with his length and speed to make some big-time breaks on the ball, some forced incompletions, interceptions, the ability to play press man coverage and put a guy, get his hands dirty on the line of scrimmage. And he's a great tackler now. We've seen him become maybe the best special teams gunner in the NFL. And Ringo was not a great tackler when he first came into the league in 2023. So I'm excited for Ringo's opportunity. I didn't know if he was going to get it this year, considering Bennett and Jackson were playing so much and he just wasn't getting any defensive snaps. But Jackson listed as doubtful with that injury, that groin injury on Friday's injury report. He's likely not going to play, and Jacorian Bennett's already been placed on IR. So it's Ringo's job to lose right now, and this is his opportunity. He was handed the job, basically. He was handed the first at bat. In training camp, Howie Roseman didn't bring in it didn't seem like any legitimate competition for him. He was given the first team reps of training camp. He blew that opportunity. Here it is on a gold platter yet again for Kelee Ringo. Let's see what he can do with it. It's a big opportunity. It's going to be hot and muggy in Tampa. It's not going to be an easy one, but at least he's getting a shot And if he does not play well this Sunday, I will shut up. For all of you out there that listen to the show on the daily that are sick of hearing about Ringo from my mouth, if he doesn't perform well this Sunday, I'll stop. But I think he's going to play really well against Tampa, and I don't think he's going to lose this job. Maybe that's my heart talking and not my head, but I believe it. All right, guys, coming up next right here on the Locked On Eagles podcast, I'm really curious after last week's Jekyll and Hyde first and second half of the Eagles' offensive performance against LA, what their identity is going to be now moving forward. Did that game teach them a lesson of changing who they are, or are they going to go back to their original identity of this year and last year? Maybe there's some middle ground. We'll get into that coming up next right here on Locked On Eagles. Today's episode of the Locked On Eagles podcast, we are brought to you by Square. Your favorite neighborhood spots run on Square. There are certain businesses that truly make the neighborhood feel like home, whether it's the local sports bar, packed on Eagles game days, the coffee shop that knows your order by heart, that while you're walking to the sports bar, let's say it's an early morning, the Eagles play at 1 a.m., you go stop at the coffee shop, then the local sports bar, or it's the corner deli that's been serving your community for decades. You name it, these are the places that bring people together. When neighborhood business thrive, the whole entire neighborhood thrives. Whether it's your favorite cheesesteak spot on Sundays during football season, everybody's in their team colors, the energy's incredible, walking around, it feels like the entire block is in there cheering together. Square is a proud partner of more than 4 million neighborhood businesses around the entire world. You can go to square.com/go/LockedOnNFL to learn more. But before you do, go support your favorite neighborhood spot. You'll be happy you did. Square. See you in the neighborhood. Guys, today's show is also sponsored by DoorDash. It's almost the weekend. Time to look back and crown this week's MVP on Who Delivered, powered by DoorDash. Just like you can win every Saturday with DoorDash Streaks, saving more every time you order, these players delivered when it mattered most. Let's break it all down. For me, an underrated player from that win against the Rams was Quinyon Mitchell. Vic Fangio had him pretty much shadow Davante Adams, one of the best route runners in the entire NFL. Quinyon was on Davante Adams the entire game, and he completely locked him down. Combined between Nakua and Adams, Quinyon Mitchell didn't even let them have over 20 yards receiving. He's a quiet assassin. He doesn't pop up on the highlight reel a whole lot, but when you don't hear a cornerback's name, that tends to be a good thing in the NFL, and you didn't hear much from Quinyon Mitchell on Sunday because he did his job. And like Quinyon Mitchell delivered for the Eagles, DoorDash delivers your Saturdays with DoorDash Streaks. You save every Saturday you order, stack it up all season, and you could save up to $250, including $100 in DoorDash credits. Order this Saturday. Keep the streak alive. Fuel your game day only with DoorDash. Terms apply. Promo period through November 18th. Thanks as always for making Locked On Eagles your first listen each and every day. We are continuing on this week of shows, our fifth and final episode before Eagles-Buccaneers this Sunday at 1 o'clock. But make sure you subscribe to Locked On Eagles because we do have 90 minutes of live post-game coverage on our YouTube channel following the game. I go 30 minutes solo, then I jump on the squad post-cast show with Jason Martius and Harry Mays. Then you can find all those shows plus our 7 shows Monday through Friday posted on all of our audio podcast platforms. It's interesting. I said it on the show yesterday that ironically the Eagles head back to Tampa Bay week 4 and they learned, I think, a season-altering lesson during that time of the year. Last year, after the Buccaneers loss and then the bye week at 2-2, they said, let's throw everything out the window on offense. We are a run-first team. Let's lean into that. We have an elite offensive line, the best running back in football, one of the best mobile quarterbacks in the world in Jalen Hurts. We have Jeff Stoutland as our run game coordinator. That needs to be our bread and butter. They ran all the way to a championship. This year, after the most conservative 2.5 games I've seen this football team play since Sam Bradford was quarterbacking this offense in 2015, they said, F it. Let's unhook the trailer, as the great Jordan Mailata once said last year against the Saints, and let's just go all in. Let's be aggressive. Let's give A.J. Brown, Dallas Goedert, Devontae Smith opportunities to make plays in the red zone, contested catch situations, tight windows, over the middle, deep down the left and right sideline. And it helped them win this football game and make the first 19-plus point comeback that this team has been able to pull off in a win since the miracle in the New Meadowlands in 2010. But now, do they take that and really lean into that like they did last year with the run game? Do they say, this is who we are again. We're going to follow this 2022, early 2023 like approach and be more of a pass-heavy team again. Let's feature A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, and Dallas Goedert. Let's be killers. Like A.J. Brown said, he prefers them to be. He said that in his press conference after the game against the Rams last Sunday. Is that what happens moving forward? I'm very curious about that. Like, was it just a one-half kind of thing where they had to go really, really aggressive just because of the situation, but now they're going to get back to who they were last year and so far this year? Maybe not a conservative style, but still very run first. Jalen Hurts is going to be pretty conservative with the football when he's forcing it. Throw the ball away a lot. Don't turn the ball over. Knock on wood, but he still has not thrown an interception this year. What are they going to be? I think this game is really going to tell us a lot because it's going to be a lot of the same challenges you faced with the Dallas defense, Kansas City, and LA against Todd Bowles' defense. They're going to send a lot of pressure packages at you. I think they're going to stack the box and make you throw again. I think the answer is somewhere in the middle. I don't think they're going to suddenly be this team that, throws 30 to 40 times a game. Like, I don't even think they'll be who they were in 2022, like from a numbers perspective, from a volume perspective, throwing the ball, and then the first half of 2023. But I don't think they're going to just say, well, that was just a one-time thing. We're going to go back to being who we were in 2024, where Jalen most of the time is throwing for like 130 to 175 passing yards, maybe one touchdown, but most of his work and the offense's work comes on the ground. I think it is somewhere in the middle. And I think that's the right answer. I think most things in life, the right answer is in the middle. When you look at the Eagles' past, when they've been championship contenders, in 2017, they threw their way to a title. They did not run well during the regular season. In 2024, they ran their way to a title. They didn't really throw all that well the majority of the 2024 season. But when you do see those two teams, those championship-winning teams, when they got to their A game in the playoffs, when they were peaking and were able to win a title, those offenses did find balance. They were able to run the ball with LeGarrette Blount, Jay Ajayi, and Corey Clement down the stretch. In 2024, they were able to throw the football, kick the doors off of some good defenses and good teams like the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Washington Commanders in the NFC Championship and the Kansas City Chiefs in the Super Bowl. They did find balance. They were able to do both, so they weren't one-dimensional and predictable like they've been so far through, out of 12 quarters, out of 10 of them. 10 of the last 12 quarters, they've been very vanilla, predictable, and conservative. I think the right answer is, and it's not a sexy answer because a lot of people in sports want you to be black and white and just kind of stand on an opinion, but I think the right answer for who the Eagles offense should be is, it's like that little girl in that taco shell commercial. Like, why not both? Soft shell and hard shell. How about we have both? It's a big plate. It's not like we can't do both. Like, we can run the ball. We have Jalen Hurts and Saquon Barkley and an elite offensive line. We can throw the ball. We have A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith and Dallas Goedert. Like, I've seen a lot of back and forth discourse about this between Eagles fans and the media this week about like who this team should become in 2025 after last week's Jekyll and Hyde kind of game. But I think the answer is, why do we have to do one thing when this is one of the most complete put together offenses in the history of the NFL? I don't want to do just one or the other. I think when the Eagles have won titles, they've been able to do both. And yeah, again, they are going to run more than pass. Like, that is going to be more of their identity. That is their true superpower. When this offense is humming, when they're at their best, they are running the ball. But it should not be this massive lopsided, like, 80 to 20 run to pass ratio or a 70-30. Like, it shouldn't be that. They're going to run more. I think it's going to be like 60-40 run pass. But when they do throw, I want them to be aggressive. I want them to be smart, but pick and choose your spots and push the ball down the field. So, I know they're still trying to find their identity in 2025, but I think taking it too far one way or another and trying to kind of like, I think finding an identity almost sometimes can be the issue. Like, you don't have to be this. You don't have to be this. You should be able to do it all. And that's what I hope they realize. I think, 2017, they won a title, and they were a great throwing football team. In 2024, they were a great running football team. But the best Eagles offense I've ever seen, unfortunately, they didn't get a ring, but I do believe it was the 2022 team. And that team was the most balanced Eagles offense that I've ever seen. So that's who I want them to be, is the 2022 offense. We'll see what happens against Tampa Bay. They're going to have to run the ball better than they did last week, but you can't throw the way you did the first 2.5 games and expect anything. They didn't even do that last year. So the identity talk this week's been fascinating, but I want them to be able to do both, because if not, teams are going to just kind of go all in on one thing until you beat them in the other way. And the Rams did that. They called your bluff, and then you finally had to force their hand. You did. Now you got to make that consistent for sure. All right, guys, we'll wrap up this Friday edition of Locked On Eagles. Coming up next, LOE3 presented by FanDuel coming your way. I got 3 player prop bets for you for Eagles-Buccaneers. Today's episode of the Locked On Eagles podcast is brought to you by Mazda. Mazda crafts cars for those who do more than simply move. Mazda delivers confidence with every ride with more IIHS top safety pick awards than anybody else. From footwork to breath work, athletes sweat all the details. Mazda brings that same intention to how they craft every model. You can feel Japanese craftsmanship in every detail, from the metallic accents to available Napa leather upholstery. You can make everyday drives feel like anything but, from smooth handling to intuitive controls. With all-wheel drive standard in every crossover SUV, you can drive with confidence through almost any season. Like their players, we sweat every detail at Mazda, because when you make every move count, impossible becomes irrelevant. Mazda, move and be moved. All right, Eagles fans, we're wrapping up this Friday edition of the Locked On Eagles podcast the way we always do, with LOE3 presented by FanDuel. I got 3 player prop bets for you to take for Eagles, Buccaneers, and I did not have a great start to the season. I was 0-3 the first 2 games back-to-back, so I was 0-6 on the season after the Dallas game, after the Chiefs game. I did bounce back, though, against the Rams. I went 2-1, and let me just double-check what my bets were here, and I did pretty well. So I hit the over, and it was only because of that second half. It didn't look like... It looked like, again, in the first half, I was going to be 0-9, and I was going to maybe retire from this. I'm like, I can't keep telling people to bet money on FanDuel with these terrible bets that I'm giving them. But I ended up going over 500 on the day. I was 2-1, so I took the over on Jalen Hurts' 200 passing yards, which hit. In one half, he hit that. I hit the over as well on Devontae Smith, 49.5 receiving yards. And then I did not hit. I hit one of 2 legs on a rushing touchdown parlay. I had the Jalen Hurts rushing touchdown, but I also had Saquon getting into the end zone. So that didn't work, but 3 of the 4 bets that I was clamoring for in that game, I hit on. But we're 2-1 from last week. So now on the season, we are 2-7. I'll get you back into the positive with more bets this week against Tampa Bay. Here they are. Saquon Barkley, the over on 102.5 total yards, both rushing and receiving. I have a 2-leg parlay for A.J. Brown, over 4.5 total receptions and over 61.5 receiving yards. That's at plus 111. And then Devontae Smith, 5+ receptions. I just love the Devontae Smith bets they're giving us. At plus 102, he had 8 catches last week. He had 4 the week prior. I think, again, with that added emphasis to be aggressive this week, to throw more, to find that balance, that run-to-pass ratio is not going to be as, it feels like it's at times 80-20, 75-25, 70-30 at the least. I think it will come back to the median a little bit more. It's not going to be 50-50, but I think it'll be like 60-40, 65-35. I think they're going to throw more. So that's why I took those 2 passing bets. And again, A.J. Brown showed this team last week why he needs the ball more. Like, he can elevate and carry you just as much as Saquon Barkley can, just as much as this defense can. Like, A.J. is that caliber of player. It's not just forcing him the football so he doesn't demand a trade. Like, the Eagles are better when that guy has the football in his hands, because he's one of the most unguardable players at this position that we've ever seen. So get him the football. And against Tampa Bay, like, Jamal Dean's a solid corner. Morrison from Notre Dame, their rookie corner, I actually do like. But overall, I think the Eagles have the mismatch here. And his line overall at plus 111 for over 4.5 catches and 61.5 receiving yards. I love that, because I think they're going to give him a couple chances down the field. I think they're going to have an added emphasis to just force feed him the football in one-on-one situations. Like when Tampa sends those pressures, the hot read is going to be A.J. Brown. So those are pretty small lines for a 2-leg parlay at plus 111. I like that a lot. And then Devontae Smith, 5+ receptions at plus 102. He's kind of Jalen Hurts' safety blanket. Like, he goes to him in the clutch. He goes to him over the middle of the field. Devontae plays in the slot a lot. So, I don't know. I just feel like every time I bet Devontae Smith, I win the bet. Whether it's an anytime touchdown bet or the over-under on his total receiving yard line, total receptions. I normally have a lot of luck betting with Slim, so I'm going to go with the Slim Reaper again, as I did last week, the over on 49.5 receiving yards. I'm going to take this week 5+ receptions at plus 102. And again, Saquon Barkley, I'm taking the big three this week. 102.5 is his total line for total yardage, both rushing and receiving. Last week was a really uncharacteristic down performance from Saquon Barkley. Like, he was not great in that game, looking back on the film. Obviously, the Rams made it hard, putting 8 to 9 people in the box like every play, and the offensive line wasn't incredible run blocking, but he didn't really do them any favors, and he said that himself this week in his press conferences. So I think he's going to get back to being somebody that has over 100 yards from scrimmage. I think you can bank on him having 70+ rushing yards, and then he needs probably around like 15 to 20 receiving yards. I think he's going to get it. And the way Jalen Hurts kind of quickly looks to him this year, and because he hasn't been force-feeding, pushing the ball down the field a lot, Jalen goes to the check down a lot more than he did in years past. And because he also, I think, is being more mindful of when to run and when to protect himself, I think you can bank on Saquon, that receiving yardage, helping him out a lot too. So I think he could probably hit this with just rushing alone, but I think 10 to 20 receiving yards is doable, is realistic as well. So I like that bet as well at minus 114. So I was 2-1 last week. We're at 2-7 on the week, but we were 0-6 the week before. Slowly chopping this thing down. We're going to climb out of this hole together on FanDuel. Make sure you download the FanDuel app this week for Eagles-Buccaneers. And then we'll see you after the game right here on Locked On Eagles, so make sure you subscribe on all podcast platforms. Until Sunday, thanks so much for making us your first listen each and every day. Thanks for downloading, thanks for watching and listening, and let's go Birds. Fly, Eagles, fly.